There's something I've been meaning to do for a long time. Oh yeah, we can just use the USB. I forgot about that. Hi there, Adam here. You know, I've had this ADK sitting around here since August, and you know, I keep on looking at it and wanting to do something with it, but it's really difficult because it's such a completed project. I mean, it has all these things that it does, and basically if I did anything with this device, I'd end up losing features. But I came across the realization that it's not actually what you do with this device. It's actually learning how to work the device. That's what makes this thing so cool. So today, we're going to work with the coolest feature on this device, and that is the display. So let's get started. Alright, so now in order to set this thing up for development, you have to go through a few steps, and that involves installing Java on your computer. You have to get Git, and you have to get the Android source code repo utility. That's the same utility that you use to synchronize the source when you're building Android source code. And you know, a lot of you guys already have it on your computer, so that should be pretty easy. Now what you have to do is you basically have to synchronize the repository and download the IDE. So what we've done here is I've already done all that. I've got the IDE right here, and here's the repository. So we go in here, ADK 2012, board, and then there's this library folder. Now you have to copy this over to your sketchbook folder. This whole library folder just gets copied over to the sketchbook. Now my setup's a little bit wonky because I didn't go through all the other extra steps to set this thing up as a proper device with UDEV rules and all that on my system. So I'm going to have to jump up and elevate my permissions up to root so I have access to all the system hardware. Alright, so now we can launch the ADK IDE, but just to let you guys know what I did, in my root folders, ls/root/sketchbook, you can see I copied over the libraries folder, and then I've got all these other sketches, and we're going to be dealing with those throughout this episode. So let's start up the Arduino IDE. Alright, so now this contains all the code that actually makes this thing into a clock. Now I wanted to point out a few things on this code really quick first. The Bluetooth pairing pin, that's set right here in the code, and you can change that to whatever you like. If you don't like it to be LEET, you can make it something else. You can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of this thing. And you know how like when you're pairing a Bluetooth device it comes up with a name? Well, that name is right here. You can put whatever you want there. Like for example, I just changed the name of this to AdamADK 2012. Now when I go in and I look at it on my Bluetooth, it'll show up as AdamADK 2012. It's that simple. But now, what I wanted to do was I wanted to find out more about how the LEDs actually work. So I made this little sketch here, and we'll just load that thing right on up. Now this is actually what's required to make the ADK lights turn into actually, you know, productive LEDs that you can draw to, basically. Alright, well, write to. Let's say that. So I've got this word here that I want to send over a message. I want it to display dev on here. So what this does, this whole sketch, let's go over this whole thing, alright? So now we pull in all the ADK libraries by including the ADK.h. We make a reference to the ADK, which this is the object and this is our variable right here. Just saying ADK is what we're going to call ADK from now on. And this is the message that we want to send over. So the first thing you have to do in your setup is you have to call the ADK init. And what that does is it turns the ADK into an ADK. It initializes all the variables and, you know, sets it up, does all those things. So in the loop here, let's start this upload because it takes a minute. In this loop here, every time it goes on through the loop, what it does is it counts from 0 to 6. And it goes on through and it draws a letter at each position. So what it's doing here is it's saying position 0, and then we take the message and the character at 0, which would be the D, and then we draw it in color code 02550, and that's red, green, blue. So it should draw green characters across the screen continuously. And it looks like we had a little problem there. Let's try re-uploading that again. There we go. I just had to change the USB that it was trying to look at. So what this is doing is continuously just looping through and just redrawing these characters continuously. And that's the basics of what's required to actually turn this thing into an output device where it can actually just display text. But now, of course, you know, that's not good enough. So I wanted to take this a little bit further. And what we've got here is we have the word XDA dev. Alright? Now the X comes up a little bit funny. Just bear with it. Alright? It looks like an H. Alright? I know that. Don't say it down in the comments, alright? So now what we've done here is we got this colors thing. And what this is doing is this is actually green, red, and blue. And this is a two-dimensional array, so each one of these colors is defined. And what we're doing is we loop on through and we select a color first. And the X is going to be our color. So you see color X color. And what this does is it actually draws out the entire word in a color and then resets, draws the word again in a different color, and continues on like that. But now, that's cool and all, but what I wanted to do was, you know, kind of overcome this ability that it has, this limitation, I should say, that it has to be able to only display 6 characters altogether. What we're going to do is we got these colors, and now this time they're actually randomized. And what we're going to do is we're going to go on through and select a block of 6 characters, and that's what's done right here, and display them in random colors. But now, this was a little bit difficult for me because I'm looking at this thing, and it's continuously changing colors all the time. And it kind of makes it a little bit difficult to focus on. So I took that another step further, and you know, while this is kind of cool and everything, it reminds me of something you'd see at like a kid's party or something, but I wanted to do a little bit something better. So what I did was I integrated a color shifter into this, and what the color shifter does is it basically takes a giant array of colors and it says, alright, we're working with character at position 1, so let's use color 1. Character at position 2, let's use color 2. And just continuously goes on like that. So now we're still looking at just 6 characters at a time out of this entire message right here. XDA developers is cool. But we're also associating data with each position along a array of 100 points. Now that 100 means that's the maximum that this thing can do, but you know, I didn't think it would need to be any higher, but if you want to, you can take that code and you can put it up as high as you want, 200 or whatever. Just change up these 2 values and you're good to go. So that's this one and this one. But now, there was kind of a problem with this because while it is random, random numbers in computers are not really random, which is the same reason you don't want to use the pseudo-random device on Linux to seed your random device, because it's very easily influenced. Now you notice I'm sitting here and I'm resetting this thing, and every single time I reset it, we have a red H, a green A, and a green D, and a blue A. Now you'll see that every single time, and that's because even though I've specified down here that we're using random colors, it's not going to be random because a computer can only do so well. So what Arduino has built in is something called a random seed, and what that does is it changes up the random value a little bit based on anything. And what we're using here is the analog pin 0 as a seed value, as they call it. Now watch what happens when I upload this. Now you'll notice we no longer have the same randomness going on. And that's kind of important to note because, well, you'll remember that not too long ago there was some hacks involving speeding up your internet a little bit by feeding in your random or your pseudo-random device into your random device. And this is exactly the reason why you don't want to do that, because a random device is only as good as how random it is. And in order to be random, it has to use outside interfaces to not be taking things from itself, basically. And that's what we're doing here. Every time I plug this thing in, it gets a new random seed, and it does that by looking at a value of a flapping analog read pin. So that's all for this episode. Now, as always, whenever I do code for anything on XDA developers, I think, pretty much, as always, the code's available online. You can get the link in the description down below, and you can grab that and make your ADK into something a little bit better, some scrolling action that's not available from stock, and do what you please with it. It's all open source, so go ahead and use it. That's all for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and add me to your circles on Google+. Go to plus.adamoutler.com. Until next time, hack on.